All right, welcome. This is the second of these free coaching calls that I've been doing, group coaching calls to help you with issues associated with COVID-19 and also just general issues that come up for people in life. Today we're focusing on the issues of low energy and motivation because lots of people on my list have written into me and said that's an issue for them, is concerns with losing energy and motivation. Now this thing tends to happen after a while. I saw a post online by a lady who used to work with people in home detention. She said the first 2 weeks in home detention was, a little bit of a novelty. They're getting things sorted and so on. But week 3, that's when they get into despair, depression, all that kind of draining and low energy and stuff like that. That's going through that's important. I think that there's some parallels there for us. I'm going to put up a screen because it's important that we get clear on all the requirements and so on for this process. So we're going to be teaching you this intention tapping process that I have discovered and developed over the last few years. And we're going to be using that to overcome issues of low energy and motivation. So if you bring up issues and you want to get some coaching, that's kind of frame that we're looking at. We, of course, have to go through the disclaimers and the legalities. This is educational. It's not medical advice. You have to acknowledge by participating or watching that you agree and understand that many of the techniques I'm using are still considered experimental, at least in the scientific frame, with no guaranteed outcomes for any particular user. And while tapping now has developed a really significant evidence base, the variations that I'm using with that, we haven't done a lot of formal research on those. Of course, I've used it with hundreds of people, but just because people have got good results and other people have got good results doesn't guarantee that that's going to happen for you. Therefore, you have to agree to take full responsibility for your own physical and mental health, and particularly if you're dealing with mental and emotional health issues, you should consult with your physician and or therapist about using any of the techniques that we use here. Just some quick housekeeping and group guidelines. The call is being recorded, and by participating you know that, and you have given permission to being recorded. I'm asking you please to be respectful of yourself and others. Listen and participate actively. Keep the call private. By that I mean don't let anybody else walk in the background and so on. Don't let the kids run in or whatever it is. I know that can be difficult if you are in home isolation and so on, but it's really important for the people who are here to know that it's the group of people that are here that they're working with, and that they're not going to get distracted by something happening in the background in your room and so on. So if you can stay here. If you need to move around the room, please switch off your video and avoid distractions like that for everybody's sake. If you know tapping already, you can start tapping now and tap along with people, and you're going to borrow benefits from the work that they do. So today's about giving you some techniques and strategies and doing some coaching to help you to overcome low energy and motivation, especially relating to the COVID-19, the coronavirus, so you can feel better, get more clear, and access your inner power, which is there and available for you all the time, but it can get blocked. So this is time for a little bit of quick sharing. There is a chat. If you haven't discovered that, you can type something in the chat, please. Just let us know, how has the challenges associated with COVID-19 affected your energy and motivation? And while we're waiting for that to come in, I will acknowledge that there have been times when I have had, kind of like the energy drained out of me. This is why it's wonderful to have the tapping and the intention tapping. But even as any of you know who use tapping, it's easy for you to get in a funk, and in that funk to not necessarily use the techniques that are good for you. And each time that I've done that and finally resorted to using the tapping, it's actually been able to drag me out of that. But there's all kinds of different things that can happen, from the paralyzing anxiety through to the kind of I'll use a question that Connie, who wrote into me, said. She said, why even bother? Why bother to start anything new? And you can have those kinds of thoughts, and they can actually affect your energy and motivation more. So Let me just see. We have some people typing in the chat. I need to be able to see if I can access that. And for some reason, I can't manage to access that while I'm on this screen. So I'm going to have to stop sharing for a moment. Okay, so what do we got? Okay, Sharon, not motivated to exercise. I usually go out to, for example, yoga classes, tennis games, walks with friends, etc. Yeah, I'm going to read this out because the people who get the recording won't necessarily, well, they won't be able to see the chat at all. So thanks for those of you who are typing stuff in there. Julie says, definitely feeling tired, lacking motivation, stopped sleeping properly, and attribute this to the way I've been feeling as a major contributor. And having trouble sleeping, which makes me tired during the day. Yeah, sleeping is usually one of the first things that gets disturbed. I did some work on sleep a number of years ago. I was running a program for truck drivers actually on how to get a good day's sleep, because they have to try and sleep during the day. And it can be difficult because there is lots of distractions. You know, things like light can wake you up, things like noise can wake you up. But also we go through cycles in sleep, and at various points we come into waking consciousness or very close to waking consciousness, and then we drop down again. And usually we don't remember those times, but when our anxiety is higher, we can go up higher in those peaks, and we can actually become aware of being awake. And then when we become aware of being awake, oh my gosh, then our mind can go crazy with that. Oh, lots more. Stress eating, Jean says. Rachel, which is EI Institute, dancing on the edge of overwhelm and distress, no lack of motivation, just motivation, just waiting for things to settle because so many dramatic changes. Yeah, that kind of waiting for things to settle is very, very common. A lot of people are of the mentality, let's just wait until we know, we have a clear signal to be able to move forward. The challenge is that if you wait for that, there's a lot of people, for example, who dumped their money back in the 2008 financial crisis, and they're still waiting for a clear signal to put their money back into the market, because there's never going to be a clear signal like that ultimately. But yeah, it's a natural thing that we all have to want to, to have some certainty. Lorraine says, thought I was coping okay, but definitely feeling flat the last 2 weeks. So thanks for this session, no worries. Cardine, sorry. I certainly have felt unmotivated to prepare to provide my EFT trainings for online. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people in business that are having challenges with this because they're thinking, well, nobody's got any money anyway, I won't be able to put anything out there. Actually, I'm discovering that some people do, and that there are ways to offer things for people that are helpful to them. You certainly have to look at making adjustments. Oh wow, lots and lots of these. Jen, work and teaching now all online, more effort and more stressful. Anne-Marie, I'm supposed to be trying to create a new business and I'm struggling with actually doing it. Well, there it is. Yeah. And then I have arthritis flare to top it off. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Big stuff. Panic symptoms, Norel. Yeah, this is very, very common. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some relief with that, with the tapping today. And if you already know tapping, again, start tapping now. Christine, I find myself unfocused, not getting the things I'd like to do, keep getting ideas about offering help to others, healing help, and I just can't get to taking action. Yeah, this is an issue for people anyway, let alone when you're going through a crisis like we're going through right now with the COVID-19. So it's easy to get overwhelmed with stuff anyway, and then when you pile this on top of that, it just seems like it's a harder road to hoe to be able to get through that, to be able to do stuff. All right, so let me go back to sharing, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some work on this. We'll spend most of the time in this session doing coaching and doing tapping. But first I have to just very quickly remind you, if you're going to be using tapping, especially if you're going to be tapping on your face, wash your hands thoroughly before you do that. It's possible that you can touch surfaces and stuff like that. So obviously you can tap on the finger points and on the body points and avoid the face points, but definitely if you're going to tap on the face points, just wash your hands thoroughly before you do that. Tapping is not a replacement for proper medical care, and if you are feeling sick, follow the local guidelines about how and when to contact the medical professionals. All right, so some of you may be new to tapping, so I'm just going to very, very quickly go through some basics of what we call simple energy techniques, which is the approach that I developed with David Lake, which evolved from EFT, emotional freedom techniques, and TFT, thought field therapy, uses the same points as the original long version of EFT. We don't use setup statements like EFT. We simply tap on the points in any order, and we focus on whatever you're aware of without having to use reminder phrases and so on like those like EFT uses. So these are the main points: top of the head, eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, under the chin, just under the head of the collarbone, close into the center, under the arm, side of the thumb level with the base of the thumbnail, side of the index finger, middle finger. We also include the ring finger. Oh my God, I've used the old image again. I've got to catch up. The little finger, and then on the bottom of the hand. And there's also a spot on the back of the hand as well. There's also a point on the wrists about where you wear your watch that you can tap on as well. In our set tapping approach, you can tap in any order, either side of the body, focus on whatever you're aware of. If it's a thought that's upsetting you, focus on the thought. If it's a feeling that's upsetting you, focus on the feeling. If it's a sensation in your body, focus on that. And simply start tapping and add the tapping to whatever you're aware of. You can tap directly where you focus on issues, and you can just tap. Just tapping on these points will increase your good energy and reduce your stress energy. It'll reduce the stress chemicals and increase the good chemicals. Use mindfulness. Just notice what's happening, accept what's there, allow it to be there, add the tapping to it, and follow what happens. And generally, the more tapping you do, the better the results. And if you tap every day, then you will tune and tone your energy such that your stress comes down. A lot of people don't realize that quantity of tapping makes as much, if not more, difference than quality of tapping. They're all getting strung out trying to find how to identify the core issues to focus on, or give me the words to use or whatever, when really they should just be tapping, especially right now when your whole system is going to be activated by anxiety and stress. Okay, so then we also use the thumb of the same hand to tap on the finger points of the same hand, and you can also wrap around and tap on the side of the thumb as well with the index finger or the middle finger. And that fingertip tapping you can take with you anywhere. So start tapping. Even if you're brand new to this, you can just start tapping on any of those points that you recall that I showed you. It's very hard to do this wrong. Virtually, you can tap on anywhere in the body and you're going to get an improvement in your body energy. Okay, so we're using intention tapping today, and intention tapping I also call intention-based energy process because it can be used with or without tapping. When we combine it with tapping, I like to call it intention tapping. And this is a process of using specific, definite intentions that I have discovered that act as commands to your unconscious mind to release the emotional attachments which are behind your problems. Attachments to negative beliefs, past hurts, unhealthy patterns, whatever it is. And also restore your energy back to flow, bringing you to a place of balance and clarity. And key for today is to also reconnect you with your inner power and your inner resources. The key statement behind my discovering this process is really came from Byron Katie's wonderful book, Loving What Is, where she says a thought is harmless unless we believe it. It's not our thoughts, but the attachment to our thoughts that causes our suffering. So in that moment of reading that, and I was doing a lot of work on myself at a very difficult time, and I realized, yeah, it's the emotional attachments that are the issue. And when we use tapping, that releases the attachment of the emotion to the thought so that you can then think the same thought and it doesn't affect you in the same way. So it's not the thought that's the problem. It's the emotion that's attached to it. And the tapping process can release that. The other thing that happens is that we can imagine something bad happen, and our brain and our nervous system can't tell a difference if we have something very vividly imagined that we attach to. It'll give us the same feelings as if we're actually experiencing that. And so the challenge is to be able to release ourselves from attachment to vividly imagined stuff, which is one of the keys that happens in terms of this process right now, in terms of the coronavirus, because many people are imagining bad stuff happening to them, when they see bad stuff happening to other people. I realize as well, people are going through their own bad stuff, but that's compounded when we imagine the worst. Okay, so the core intention statements we use here, and if you're new to this, please write these down right now. I release all my emotional attachments to X, where X is the problem, the event, the image, the belief, the thought, the person, the thing, whatever it is that's upsetting you. I release all my emotional attachments to that. And the restoring statements, I restore the right energy flow to Y, where Y is the area in your body that's disturbed. So if it's your stomach, I restore the right energy flow to my stomach. If it's your chest, I restore the right energy flow to my chest. And the same thing with the restoring the balance. I restore the right energy balance to my stomach. I restore the right energy balance to my chest. And then keep tapping and just notice what happens with this process, because sometimes there's quite a delay between when you use the statement and when the processing occurs. Sometimes it happens instantly, and it certainly happens much more quickly than my experience of just doing tapping alone. Okay, so I want to run through some basic principles of this. This will take about 3-4 minutes, hopefully, and then we'll get straight into tapping for the whole rest of this time. This is my understanding of what happens. You are powered by life energy. Your life energy is meant to flow through you, within you, and around your mind body. And when your energy is in flow and you are in the flow, then you feel good. You can adapt to what happens. You can manage whatever happens as it happens. When you're feeling good, you know, the bad stuff happens and you can manage it. It's all good. Okay, but your life energy can get blocked and your flow can get disturbed. And what disturbs it is emotional attachments. You end up attaching your life energy to thoughts by believing them. And the challenge is that we are very attached to believing that the thoughts that go through our head are us, and they define us and they define our life. And if you can realize that you are actually, you are not your thoughts, that in itself is a massive change in how you're going to live your life. So we attach life energy to thoughts by believing them. We go into doom and gloom scenarios as if they're actually happening, and then we feel them as if they are real. The emotional attachment creates a resistance to what's actually happening in reality, a separation from what's happening in reality. You end up believing the thought rather than dealing with reality. And that separation can end up meaning that you get fixated on the thought, you can't get the thought out of your head, and you can also end up with a contraction and or an imbalance of energy flow in your body. Usually that's accompanied by a constriction in your breath. Stephen Walensky, in his book Trances People Live, he says you can't have a symptom without a holding of the breath. So usually we end up tightening ourselves, squeezing ourselves, constricting our breath, and then that just leads us into a continuing negative spiral. In simple terms, what happens is we believe a thought that differs to reality, and then we begin to suffer. We make things mean things that are worse than they are. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the intention tapping or the intention-based energy process to release those emotional attachments and inner resistance and restore your energy to a place of balance and flow. When you do that, you get access to your resources, your energy and power, and you discover that this world that you thought was going to hell in a handbasket and was horrific and terrible and so on is a lot kinder than you think. A lot kinder than you think, because we're attached to the way that we're thinking about this, which is causing us to suffer because we are emotionally attached. All right, so we are going to spend the rest of our time doing some tapping on this stuff, and I'm going to show you how to use the intention tapping process. And once again, if you're brand new to this, just play along. You might want to write down some of the words just for your own use later on. Tap along and start tapping now. So if you haven't been tapping, start tapping now. Whatever happens, we're gonna go for at least another 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and you'll get 45 or 50 minutes of tapping. And just that process of tapping will help you. Then if you tap along while someone else is working on emotional issues that are significant to them, you can get shifts in how you feel, because we know in the tapping world that you borrow benefits from other people's work. Now, I'm actually looking for some people to volunteer to do some work with me. And I kind of thought I had put out the word to ask for some volunteers for this session, but I reread my email and it was really unclear. So is that you with your hand up, Nancy? Is that Nancy?
No, I was just tapping the wrists, but if
Nice
you
to
wish
see
so,
you.
I'm
It's
ready.
nice to see you. Nancy's up in Venice, Italy. I'm glad to see you. I was just thinking about sending you an email to see how you were, because I know you guys have been in lockdown for a long time, and it's lovely to see you here and tapping along.
Either I meant to send you an email, but too many.
Yeah.
I still didn't succeed. I will.
No worries. What time is it there now? 2 or 3 in the morning?
3:25.
3:25. Wow, she's so dedicated. That's nice to see you. All right, so let's have someone. You can type in the chat if you want to volunteer to do some coaching, or you can put your hand up. Now we've got 3 screens for me to scroll through here. A lot of them are people who don't have their videos on, so most of the people with videos are on my first screen. So if you would like to volunteer to do some coaching and work with me using the intention tapping on some issues for you of low energy and motivation, put your hand up so I can see you, or just noticing your cat in the background, or just type in the chat and let me know that you want to do some work. Otherwise, I'm just going to be tapping for myself, and I'll make something up for you if you want. Good on you, Nora. There's always eventually someone.
I was just letting other people have a go because obviously I've had a few goes. So.
Well, you have in the past for a while, and you've got a different look now with your hair and everything. Wow.
Yeah, you'll see the natural colour.
Well, I think we're going to be seeing everybody's natural colours soon, except for the people that are desperately doing the home dyeing performance.
Yeah, but I think that'll be like the bread. That'll run out very soon.
Yeah.
Not bread, toilet paper.
Yeah. So Nora knows me. She's been to a number of my programs, but just because you've been to programs doesn't mean that you don't have issues, right?
That's right.
We try to fix everything, but we couldn't get everything all at once.
No, well, yeah, I don't think it doesn't appear to be anyone that I've followed on the internet or, all the gurus that have no issues. I haven't come across any yet.
Nor have I.
Yeah, life continues to throw issues, and I think that's something that we just need to accept, that there's always, like this is like, how can you tap this away? You can't, it's an issue, so.
Okay, so right now when you say that about this,
yeah,
what happens?
Oh yeah, I notice, yeah, so I sort of feel more flushed in the face, or like there was some sort of maybe tingling around this area. See, there goes my voice.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so, and when you start to focus in, then you notice more about that. So the challenge is when we notice those feelings, then we focus in on them, they get worse, then we try and run away from them. That's normal, like, oh no, the feeling is going to take me over or whatever. And so we actually have an emotional attachment to that, which is that, that it's bad or horrible, or that we can't handle feelings or whatever. Just you're tapping, right? So we can't see you tapping, but I know you're probably tapping underneath.
So I was doing under the arm one. I'm doing all the points.
No worries. So just say I restore the right energy flow.
I restore the right energy flow.
To my throat.
To my throat.
And my breath.
And my breath. Yeah.
And sometimes when you do this, you're just not aware how much your breathing has been contracted. You know, I've realized sometimes during the day, oh my gosh, I feel like my chest is kind of being crushed. And then I start doing the tapping, the releasing, and start yawning and sighing, and that just clears, you know. So what's happening now? What we do when we use the intention process, we use the statement, we let it do what it does, and then we notice what comes next.
Well, it did feel that need to breathe and sigh, that like a relief sort of breath, but I still feel quite tense in, like you were saying, pulling up the shoulders, and so there's still a lot of. And actually, I did wake up with a bit like a headache from. I can feel like, you know, you're sort of doing this. It's a headache, but you know it's because you're pulling your shoulders up. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell yourself not to do that or try and pull them down, but it's kind of a natural reaction.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to release this using some process. So just say, I restore the right energy.
I restore the right energy.
Balance and flow.
Balance and flow.
To my shoulders.
To my shoulders.
And neck.
And neck.
And just keep tapping and let it do whatever it does. Don't try and make it do anything. So for those who are brand new to this process, we don't try and do this consciously. We allow the unconscious to do whatever it does. And either it gets worse or it gets better or it stays the same. Yeah?
It's really funny because it's wanting to go down. And I'm as you're saying, don't make it go down. I'm going, no, don't make it go down. And I'm...
All right, so I'm going to give you another statement here, and let's just see how this lands. Just say, I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachment.
To being in total control of this.
To being in total control of this.
And then just keep tapping, and you know, it's just, I know you're tapping on the finger points, but for those who are, a lot of people who use EFT are familiar with the upper body points only. They're not used to using the finger points. And what's happening now?
That statement sort of brought up a bit more now, and we all maybe know people that I don't feel an emotion, but I sort of notice there's tears here. Yes. So, but I can't say that I really feel sad or whatever.
No, that's okay. Sometimes you're doing this, the yawning and the, you know, the flowing just happens naturally. So just let it flow. If it's not a problem, to allow it, because ultimately life is meant to move us, and things that happen are meant to, you know, I believe our feelings are meant to move us and move through us. And if we allow that to flow through, then we can deal with everything. It's when we go, no, this should not be happening, you know, like these tears shouldn't be here, or, oh my gosh, now your mind starts coming up with something, right, about what those tears mean.
Well, yeah, just as you were talking, because I was talking to my friend Kerry, who you know also, I forgot to tell her this was on. But I was telling her, like, we were just saying about the people that had died. And so then I had tears for that, like for the other people and how they must feel. So then it gets stronger now, yeah.
Of course.
That compassion.
Because your mind is going to project how they must feel. And actually, you only know how you feel.
Where's your tissues?
So just say, I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachment.
To how they must feel.
To how they must feel.
It's actually that your mind is creating an attachment to how they must feel and projecting how they feel, because you're not there and you don't know how they feel. You know how you would feel if you had experienced that potentially.
Yeah, well, the mistake is reading the stories as well. And then just then it brought up, like when my, actually my mother-in-law, which was a very long time ago, like 30 years ago she passed, but so I was, you know, younger, and that, you know, of someone passing and that experience and, you know, being really sad. So, yeah.
So this is where your mind gets the energy for this from. It actually goes back to the past and gets the energy from the bad experience you've had in the past, and now projects this with these images of other people. And so the issue is really the thing from the past that maybe is not fully processed. Okay, so just allow that to be there and just say, I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachment
to what happened in the past.
To what happened in the past.
And just keep tapping and allow it to do whatever it does as it moves you, moves through you, and kind of informs you. And tell me what you notice.
Well, there's a lot of feeling that the need, like normally I yawn, but there's the need to have a lot of breaths, like the sign, like it's deep, you can't see in the video, deep down under my solar plexus. So somewhere from down there, like it's needing to come up, like the breath.
Sure.
So like it's shorter breath here and needing to take really,
Okay, so just say, I restore the right energy flow to my chest.
I restore the right energy flow to my chest.
And my heart.
And my heart.
And my solar plexus.
And my solar plexus.
And my diaphragm.
And my diaphragm.
And my stomach.
And my stomach. Yeah, it sort of moved up more to my, in the middle in my heart area.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
That's where it's moved up to there.
Okay, you're showing everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
I can see me on the screen, so I'm assuming that's what you can see.
Okay, so just say, I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachment.
To how I look.
To how I look. I can't see me very well without my glasses on.
So put your hand on your heart.
Yeah.
And do the tapping with the other hand. And just allow that hand to help with, you know, restoring the energy flow in that area. And you can get a long way with just tapping and allowing the feelings to move and just noticing the energy moving. And
I do find having your hand on the place that's bothersome, that's really comforting, or like it helps.
Yeah. And just say, I restore the right energy flow and balance to my heart.
I restore the right energy and flow. Say it again.
Doesn't matter. Your unconscious mind knows what it means.
To my heart, yeah.
Some people get hung up with worrying about the words. Just saying, you know, I restore flow, that will do.
Yeah, I restore flow. Because it's moved up to my throat now.
Yeah. And just say, I restore the right energy flow to my throat.
I restore the right energy flow to my throat. Because maybe other people have this problem too, but I think I've, told you many times before, I end up getting all the symptoms of whatever, so I can have all the corona symptoms.
Okay. So this is just a typical anxious mind process of attaching to those things, and it's very, very common. So just say, I'm not calling you common, I'm just saying that you
I don't
have
mind being common, that's okay.
Say, I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachments.
To their symptoms are my symptoms.
To their symptoms are my symptoms.
And their suffering is my suffering.
And their suffering is my suffering.
Yeah, Byron Katie says the good thing about having separate bodies is that when you're suffering, it's not my turn.
I'll have to buy her book.
Give you something to do instead of entertaining yourself.
Yeah, I know, I need something to read. Apart from the computer.
That's right.
It's sort of got like a more conscious of a whole body reaction, like that tingling through even down to the feet. Also maybe like if people have restless leg, I'm imagining it's a bit like that, like everything's sort of wanting to move a little bit, or jiggle.
So just say I restore the right energy flow.
I restore the right energy flow
through my body,
within my body,
within my body,
and
around my body. And what's it doing?
Yeah, it feels calmer. Shoulders settle down. Throat's still there.
Still there? Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.
Good idea.
Help it to move somewhere. Out.
And, yeah, but you notice that it keeps coming back to the throat area. So that's just something that you might want to be mindful of. And also the heart area. And so, keep restoring the energy flow to those areas. When you have something being triggered, usually there's a kind of common pathway within your body, or somewhere that, maybe it's the stomach, for some people it's the chest, for other people the heart, for other people the throat, for other people, the jaw. All right, shoulders, neck, you name it, whatever it is, back, whatever it is for you, just notice and just keep sending restore the right energy balance and flow to this area. So just say I restore the right energy flow to my throat.
I restore the right energy flow to my throat. Does it sound better? Yeah, a little bit. The breathing felt like it went deeper then. Like past it, yeah.
Yeah. So this is what happens is actually we have, this attachment. It leads to a constriction or a contraction. We kind of squeeze that part of our body. It's not like, you deliberately squeeze your throat, but the unconscious squeezes. And so we need to actually get that to release. And there's lots of different ways to do that. If we find all the things that are attached to and release those, then this will happen automatically. but you can also do it by restoring the energy flow and restoring the energy balance. And you're using intention to do that. So just say, I restore the right energy balance to my throat.
I restore the right energy balance to my throat.
And what are you noticing?
Well, each statement, yeah, that's quite strong. Oh.
Could be corona. Oh no.
Hang on.
At least we're safe. You can't cough on us, you know. You can't cough on us here.
Oh.
It's all right to cough if it clears something.
Yeah, nice and moving around, definitely moving around.
And just say, I restore the right energy flow to my mouth.
I restore the right energy flow to my mouth.
And my jaw.
And my jaw.
And my neck.
My neck.
And my shoulders.
And my shoulders.
Don't know about you, but it's helping me.
Yeah, no, it's when you said I restore the correct energy flow to my jaw, it sort of went, oh yeah, that's it, that's good.
That's right. Yeah. Some of this is kind of subtle and you're not aware of it until you release one part. You can't see the other part. So Callahan used to say it's like, you know, you have a sore tooth, and so you make an appointment to go to the dentist, and it's so painful that you put your shoes on the wrong feet, but you can't feel that because the pain in your mouth is so bad. And then you go and sit on the chair at the dentist and there's a spring sticking in your backside, but you can't feel that either. But then you get some, you know, some Novocaine to release this pain. You go, oh my gosh, this lounge is, you know, spring, and then, oh my goodness, my feet are. So you kind of can notice one thing after the other thing moves and settles. So just keep doing that, restoring the energy flow, you know, restoring the energy balance, and kind of maybe you could just do that by going through your body and doing a body scan and just doing that on each part in turn, even some parts that you don't know are stressed.
Well, I'm sure they're all tense because there's that many that I know are tensing up. I mean, once I did one of those little stress courses and they said, gave you a picture of the body where and mark on it. And like, I even do this with my toes. I didn't notice that before, you know, like you're scrunching your toes. So it's from your toes up to your here and your, you know, your head. Yeah.
So just say, I restore the right energy flow.
I restore the right energy flow.
To my entire body.
To my entire body.
From my head.
From my head.
To my toes.
To my toes. It feels really calming.
Yeah. All right. Well, we might just pause here and we'll come back to the group and we'll see if we have some. I see that there's at least one question being sent to me about tapping and stuff like that. So you keep tapping and yeah, look forward to hearing how that goes for you. So Nora is actually quite body aware and very, very kinesthetically aware, you could say. So this is why we used a lot of the restoring statements with her, and because they're working. Some of you might find when you use the statement like, I restore the right energy flow to my chest, that the feeling is still there. And I would say that the feeling is still there because you have to release some more attachments that are triggering that feeling and causing that disturbance. So then we might need to find the things that are upsetting you, release some of those attachments, and then we'll get access to the body to be able to restore the energy flow. So I had a question about, do we tap one position at a time? Can we use both hands at different positions? You can tap using one hand or both hands. You can vary where you tap. It doesn't really matter. I generally tap with one hand, but doesn't matter which side, which hand, and you can tap as many times as you like. If you notice that a certain point is working better, you can keep tapping on that point. Isaac said, had to head off, says thanks. He says, if anyone wants to work with Steve now, but is a little worried about it, just do it. You'll be helping others and you. Yes. Yeah, so we are going to be looking for more volunteers. Some people saying thank you to Nora. Yeah, that's when you volunteer, we all get the benefit. This happened in the last group, that a lot of people got a lot of relief because their stuff was being brought up by other people. And even if it's not stuff that you're aware of, for example, hands up who became aware of some stuff in their own body when we were tapping along with Nora. Just put your hand up if you noticed that. Yeah, so yeah, at least 50–60% of this group of the people I can see on this screen anyway. All right, so let's get another volunteer and let's do some more tapping, and I'll show you some more ways of using the intention tapping process for releasing stuff which is causing you to lose energy and lose motivation. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk the whole time, and that's oh, that could be all right, but be better if we. Oh, are you pointing to someone, Greg, that I'm missing?
It's here, Christine.
Christine, where are you, Christine? I can't see you. Put your hand up. She might not be on this screen for me. So she might be on the next screen. Hang on, Christine. Oh, there you are. Okay. You're on the second screen on my computer, so I couldn't see you. I had all the people on that screen there. Is there a way, do you have any more light, or can you turn to...
I can get a light, just a second.
So the light is on you so that we can see you a little better? That would be really helpful. And while we're waiting for Christine to do that, don't forget to just keep tapping, because tapping itself is the antidote for helping these feelings to move and process in the body, and helping your energy to get restored and so on. Greg says, oh, okay, Greg's written a question as well we can answer. Can we be sad about what others are going through without having emotional attachments? Absolutely. The way I see it is that we have that sadness. The sadness moves us and moves through us, and then it leaves our body. So we process that sadness. We are moved by what's happening. As the sadness happens, we also gain perspectives and ways of thinking about that. But when we stay stuck with that sadness, then we've got a problem. And now, rather than being able to help the person, we actually are the one with the problem, or we are a second one with the problem. So yeah, sadness and emotions are actually are normal, but they can become toxic, or they can become stuck. And yeah, all right, Christine, you're back. It's good to see you.
Yes.
So you're tapping, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. What did you want to focus on?
My sleep has been so not good.
Okay. All right. So there's two problems. There's the problem, and then there's your judgment about the problem, right? At the moment, I'm seeing the judgment about the problem. So let's release that. So just say I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachments
To my not good sleep.
to my not good sleep.
And then just let it do whatever it does, and just notice what comes up. Could be a thought, could be an image, could be a feeling, could be a body sensation. Just keep tapping until you notice what's next.
I think the biggest, there were two things at the same time. One is the thought, what if this goes on forever?
Okay, so let's, yeah. And what's the other one?
The other is just a feeling of being very, very deeply tired.
Sure. Okay. So I'm guessing that they're connected. So just say, I release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to what if this goes on forever?
to what if this goes on forever?
And deliberately that time, just use your exact thought as you thought it, right? You can do it that way, or you can, you can just say, I could have said the belief that this is going to go on forever or whatever, but just use it as it comes up. What happens with that?
Oh, probably a bunch of stuff, but the thing that stood out is that kind of floated through was my immune system is going to go down if I don't sleep well.
Okay, so this is behind that is this, and it always comes back to some kind of fear or something, some kind of projection. So that behind this is the fear that, I'm going to miss out on my sleep. Lack of sleep debt is going to cause my immune system to go down. Then I'm going to get the virus and I'm going to die a horrible death, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, everybody's saying get enough sleep. Well,
Yeah. Okay. So just release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to what everyone's saying.
to what everyone's saying.
It's like people that are telling people not to panic. Never in the history of people being told not to panic has anyone not panicked by being told not to panic.
Yep.
And just, I'm going to use the word fantasy, but it's a projection that your mind is making underneath this. But I like to use the word fantasy because it's just another way of being clear that it's just a projection. So just say I release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to the fantasy that my lack of sleep
that my lack of sleep
is going to destroy my immune system.
is going to destroy my immune system.
And then I'm going to get the virus.
And then I'm going to get the virus.
And then I'm going to get sick.
And I'm going to get sick.
And I'm going to die a horrible death. Now, anyone who's new to this process, we deliberately focus on the negative because that's what's upsetting her. And we want to release the attachment to that fantasy. Okay. Okay, so keep tapping and just notice what happens with that. Could get worse, could get better, could go to a different thought, feeling.
I think what's coming is just a kind of confidence in my body.
Confident in your body.
Yeah, we've been through times like this before. It's okay.
Yeah. So see how when you release the attachment to the, to the negative fantasy, your resources just come up naturally. You naturally now can think in a more balanced way. You can remember that you've been through difficult times before. You probably had disturbed sleep previously in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're still alive.
Yeah.
At least for now.
There is something, when I was having disturbed sleep before, there's a fear that I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with that. So just release all my emotional attachments.
Sounds goofy. I release all my emotional attachments
to the fantasy that I'm going to go crazy from lack of sleep.
I'm going to go crazy. Lack of sleep. Oh boy.
You can intellectually know something, but it doesn't matter about intellectually because when you're attached to something emotionally, it's got no logic at all. And you know, the more you try and tell yourself to think logically and rationally about it, the more it seems to go irrational.
Yeah.
And of course, it's natural when you're upset to, you know, it's like when your stress level is higher, now your thoughts seem more real.
Yeah.
But they're all just thoughts, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking of my husband now, who every day he's taking a nap now because our sleep's off. And it's like, why don't I just do what he's doing?
Well, because you have to suffer and sleep at night. See?
That just seems like a really logical solution. Just take a nap.
Yeah. Maybe you're oh, where are you now? You're on the other screen. Now you've turned up on the first screen. I lost you for a moment.
What
It's
happened?
right.
You up a little bit.
Well, I have it on speaker, but sometimes I come back just to check in with the group, and now you moved in where you were in the group, so I got lost for a second. Sorry about that. Okay, so just say I release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to my sleeping rules.
to my sleeping rules. Yeah, now I'm getting more of a physical, like in my chest and stomach kind of fear.
Perfect. So this is just what I talked about. You release and release and release and release the attachments to the thoughts. Now you get access to the disturbance, which is in the body, which is what the real problem is, because it's that feeling that's underneath it that's causing you the most problem. So where's the feeling? What's it doing?
Kind of clenching in my stomach, a little bit in my chest.
Okay, so just say I restore the right energy flow to my stomach.
I restore the right energy flow to my stomach.
And just keep tapping and let it do what it does. Don't try and make something happen in your stomach or your chest or whatever. Don't try and, you know, just let your unconscious mind do whatever it does and keep tapping.
Okay, now there's a lot of emotion in my throat,
Yeah,
like kind of grief and, well, a lot of more grief.
sure. So I suspect that there's grief, but you've kind of got some attachments, emotional attachments to grief, because you know, it's like sometimes we get upset about having a feeling, we don't want to have a feeling, we think the feeling's going to overwhelm us, whatever. So just say I release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to all these feelings in my throat
all these feelings in my throat,
and my chest.
in my chest.
And we could also say, just say I restore the right energy flow
I restore the right energy flow
to this grief
to this grief
and this sadness
and this sadness
and this fear
and this fear
and this worry
and this worry
and whatever else.
and whatever else. That's really interesting. I had lost, my stepfather died the 1st of February, and I'm supposed to go up to his funeral in Toronto the end of March. And so it's like this happened and it's covered those feelings.
Yes.
So that's kind of showing itself now.
Yeah, so those feelings never got to process or flow or anything like that. And so they might be just kind of, hey, what about me?
Yeah. And of course, I've been trying really hard to be uplifted and positive.
Of course. Yeah. All right. So just say I release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to the Pollyanna fantasy.
To the Pollyanna fantasy. Oof.
I mean, Pollyanna, there's a place for Pollyanna. That's not, you know, but this isn't always it.
Takes a lot of energy
Hmm.
to do that.
That's right. It's like Groucho Marx. This is a bit of PET. It's not logical, but it fits. He says, "I've had a perfectly wonderful evening, but this wasn't it." Time to laugh and a time to cry. Time to be frustrated. Time to be cheerful.
Yeah.
But no rest for the wicked.
Uh-oh.
It's what my mum used to say anyway, you know. And what's
Yeah,
happening
just
now?
a lot more open, relaxed in my chest.
Hmm. And what about the stomach?
It's neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Diaphragm?
It's a little tight.
Just restore the right energy flow to my diaphragm.
I restore the right energy flow to my diaphragm. Oh yeah, okay. Actually lost 2 other people the month before this happened. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
There is. Yeah.
Woo! It was like they were all sitting right there.
Yeah. And the corona got in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it thinks it's king, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's wearing that damn crown.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it just feels like there's just space for this all to be now,
Yeah.
which feels so much better.
And it's fair enough for that space to be taken up by all these worries and stresses, because they're new. They're
Yeah.
new challenges, new stresses. There's a lot of new stuff about this,
Right.
you know. But now, you know, if I don't know about your state of lockdown, but there's a lot of old about that very quickly.
Yes. I see the same neighborhood one more time.
I got my wife onto this thing on Facebook, view from my window. Oh man. And then I linked it to a friend of ours. She spends hours on there connecting with, you know what's going to happen? After this is all finished, she's going to go and visit all these people all over the world, because she's writing to them and, you know, connecting with them. And it's just unreal. And it's parts of the world that you'd never see.
Wow.
Just out of people's windows, you know?
Yeah.
From the mundane to the spectacular, you know, like someone's got the Northern Lights, you know, like, man, oh man. But it's, you know, it's the online version. But
Yeah.
after all this is over, there's another list of things that I want to visit, you know, places I want to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. It's hard, of course, if you focus instead on, you know, of course you need to find out what's happening, and it's important to know the news, but you can get so fixated on that you don't find the other stuff.
Yeah,
You don't have any space.
I've given up on. My husband reads and listens to everything, and I just told him, unless I need to know it for my survival, I don't want to hear about it.
That's actually really helpful, because he's going to be the researcher.
He is, and he loves it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm better.
Old-fashioned problem solver man. Good on him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel so much more relaxed.
Yeah. So it might, you know, now for everyone else, we're kind of just talking about this stuff, but that's because once she made contact with that and it started to move and release, she could just keep on tapping it. It would just keep on moving on its own. We didn't need to keep on attaching to issues or whatever. It's all moving and flowing. And, you know, once it's flowing, you just let it flow. Let it keep on going, and that might happen for 24 hours or 48 hours. And I suggest you do a lot of tapping, you know, just in allowing that to happen. And of course, if you find that you're stuck on something or fixated on something, then just use the statements. I release all my emotional attachments to this. I restore the right energy flow to this, you know, whatever. And see where you go.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Feels a little more softer.
Yeah.
And you could probably do with being a little bit more gentle to yourself.
Really?
All right. Forget I said that. Strike that from the record.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. One thing at a time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Christine.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
really appreciate, and just like I said, lots and lots of tapping. So I imagine that there's some stuff that's come up from this that's resonating for other people. Rachel says, marvelous to seeing you. Thank you so much. Been wonderful to see Christine. So relate to what you're going through and all those thoughts. Thank you. Laureen, thanks. That was really helpful. Been holding a lot of blah in my lungs. Good realization. When you're a great volunteer, it showed us what could be, that I'm subconsciously focusing on their symptoms being my symptoms. I think that's actually probably from Nora's session. But yeah, I'm sure that everybody who's here will want to say thanks to the people that have volunteered. Wow, you know, it never ceases to amaze me how quickly an hour, you know, we've been going for nearly 70 minutes now, how fast that time can pass. So we are going to ultimately run out of time, but I want to leave you with some things. Let me just first of all go back here and find, just for those of you who are brand new to this process, I want to just go back to slide number 14, if I can do that. Come on, 14, do what you're meant to do. So just for those who are brand new to the intention-based energy process, the intention tapping, you should have been able to see that with Nora and also with Christine, using the statement is very, very powerful of helping them to move through those issues quite quickly. Far quicker, in my experience, than just using tapping, although of course you can just use tapping, and tapping itself is spectacular. You can use these statements with or without tapping, by the way. So if you're somewhere where you can't tap, you know, you could tap discreetly on the finger points or just gently touch the points. But you can also just use the statements. And sometimes when I'm lying in bed, if I wake up, I just use the statements without the tapping, and it works really well. There's lots more that you can learn about this, but just knowing these simple statements, I release all my emotional attachments to X, whatever the problem is, whatever it is that's disturbing you and upsetting you. I restore the right energy flow to this body area. I restore the right energy balance to this body area. And as you saw, you can also combine them. I restore the right energy flow and balance to this body area. You can do either or both of those things at the same time. Also want to say something about, now I think it's going to be 19, number 19. Let's see here if this works. I put this up in the last session that I ran, but it's stuff that really is always significant for me is the values issue. And, you know, when Connie wrote to me and said, why even bother? The first thought that came to me was, good question. Why bother? Okay, well, the reason why to bother is to find something to bother about, something that's significant and something that's important. And that requires you to go back to reflect on your values about what really matters in your life and what's most important to you. And so if you actually come back to answering these questions, what's really important, what really matters to me, come back to your values, then you'll have some reasons to bother, because values are your most significant reasons why you want to do things. Now, it's not true that you can't live your values in lockdown. You know, if connection is an important value to you and you feel like you haven't got connection, then you can find ways to connect. And it's very important to do that if connection is an important value to you. So I think it's really good to find some reasons to bother, some reasons why you should bother. Also want to leave you with some possibilities for doing stuff in the future. Last group I mentioned that I have my Overcome Anxiety program that I ran. The full price was $2.99. I offered it to my group of subscribers for a pay what you choose rate. I'm doing that again now. That offer is still available for people from this group, and it'll be available for the near future while we're still going through this challenge. So it's a pay what you choose. We need at least $19 to cover our admin costs, but you can pay whatever you choose between $19 and $99. And that program is at EFTdownunder.com/ITA. I is it for iguana, by the way, for the people in the US. When we say I, it sounds like an A. So EFTdownunder.com/ITA, and we do this manually. We have to manually set this up for you. The other thing is I have a program. If your why bother stuff is about, you know, the fact that you're held back and you do some releasing and you do want to move forward, like there's some people who want to move forward and get their businesses set up, and they do want to do some stuff while they're here. Obviously, you know, the first thing is to take is to manage your emotional stuff that's been triggered. And this program can also help you with that. So that Overcome Anxiety, if you're really feeling anxious and stressed, that program will help you. If you're feeling like you're being held back now and you want to move forward, my Overcome Self-Sabotage with Intention Tapping, I'm doing the same thing with that program. It's a pay what you choose rate at the moment. The full price of that program is $2.99. But as I've offered it to my subscribers, I'm offering it to people who are watching this or either now or in the on the recording for the near future. It's at EFTdownunder.com/OSS, Overcome Self-Sabotage, EFTdownunder.com/OSS. And just choose what you want to pay. And you can go to that web page, you can find out about the program, you can click on the link and you can actually insert the amount that you want to pay in the payment link that's on there. Some more options. We have actually put all of our workshops online. They're now live online workshops, and there are online groups that I offer as well. They're at EFTdownunder/training. And if you are totally new to my stuff and you want to get more of these free programs, I'm going to be offering some more of them. Also, I'm interested in hearing from you what you want. The idea for this focus came from stuff that people in my newsletter have been writing to me about issues that are relevant to them. Then sign up to my newsletter at EFTdownunder.com, and we'll send you stuff out all along the way as we, you know, as I make it up basically, and as I find time and find the opportunity to do it. I'm going to also put something that I also mentioned last time. This is my good friend David Lake's saying that he uses with couples when he works with them. It seems just so relevant now. You know, there's a lot of upset about what everyone else is doing and all that kind of stuff. We just have to keep this in mind. You know, no fighting in the lifeboat. We're all in this together. And the only way that we can get through this together, however long that we end up in various states of lockdown or physical distancing or whatever it is, we're going to do that by helping each other and being aware that we're all in the same boat. So thank you for being part of this. I hope that you found this helpful. You'll find more on the intention tapping at EFTdownunder.com/blog. There's lots of articles and stuff there. You can also go to my YouTube and search on me and my stuff, and you'll find lots and lots of videos and programs that you can tap along to. Apart from the stuff that's here right now, there's just some universal human stuff that comes up when we're dealing with challenges. And you know, a good hour spent tapping along to other people working can be very, very beneficial for us because we're all the same. We're all connected. So thank you again for being here. A special thank you to 2 volunteers, Nora and Christine, today. And thank you. I see lots of people saying thanks in the chat there. And yeah,
Thanks,
right,
Steve.
keep in touch. Yeah, let's unmute and all say a big goodbye, shall we? I can't, you should be able to unmute yourself. I'll unmute everyone that I can. And yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Thanks,
Steve.
everybody,
Bye
for being
Bye.
here.
Bye.
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 Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Steve.
See you
Good to
all.
see you.
Bye all.
Back to sleep now, Nancy.